For the last 10 years or so, there's been one figure in my collection that stood the test of time to be my favorite figure out of my entire collection. And when it comes to collecting in general, pretty much everyone has that one staple figure that turns out to be a holy grail that keeps them coming back for more. For some people, it might be a big, stupid chonkin' Optimus Prime that has a base mode, robot mode, and a fuck huge super robot, or a big, stupid He-Man playset with a functioning monorail, or hell, even a several $100 diorama from Mecha Toys of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sewer. $800 fucking dollars for this. For me, though, it was just Ultra Magnus. Any version of him that's ever come out has been one that I've been all over getting, except that embarrassing ass, bullshit ass Kingdom release. Fuck that thing. The long-standing champion for the best one of my collection so far has been Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus, and after years of Ultra Magnus being relegated to a white Optimus Prime repaint to sell to confused grandmas who don't know any better, this was one that managed to be the only release in history that was even remotely affordable anyways, with a truck and car carrying trailer with both components of a single transformation, and the white Optimus Prime gimmick was finally left to retire. And while a part of me misses the charm of that era, I'll certainly settle with letting that gimmick die a painful death before I ever consider Kingdom Ultra Magnus as my definitive one. It was such an engineering middle finger that actively made everything about the Siege figure look like shit and got people so fed up with that figure that it became hated because of what its other shitty mold mate did to him. Do not try to change my mind on that one. I am fucking convinced that's where Siege gets its hate from. I honestly hate that figure more than Earthrise RC. That's how bad that thing was to me. But over time, I'm beginning to ask myself one simple question. Where the fuck is the next status quo defying Ultra Magnus that manages to shatter my expectations?
Oh, that's that good shit!
Whoa! It's Epic Gamer Hours!
I am so fucking ready.
Was a definitive version of Ultra Magnus really that masterpiece figure? Well, no. I thought the figure was mediocre at first as anything but a display piece to be an absolute fuck huge highlight on a collector's shelf before I kinda realized that mold kinda sucked. It was floppy, unstable at the shoulders because the entire fucking assembly didn't bother to tab in anywhere, in spite of the bitch-ass $240 retail price tag. Hell, the knockoff was only $100, and it had to fix that unsightly ass flap from the official release. But I always dreaded the concept of Takara and Hasbro ever taking on an ambitious project like that and translating it into a chug figure, because I grew up in an era where Takara's ambitions always shafted the quality of a figure for the sake of complexity and accuracy, even if it ruined a much better mold and made one of the worst leader class figures in world fucking history.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
The point is, a Commander-class figure of Ultra Magnus was bound to come out sooner or later from the Studio Series 86 line, and I want to take a second to talk about him. And this is most definitely not going to be a shitty segue of having a bunch of random bigger YouTubers come on my channel to talk about it for the sake of clout. Nope, I have integrity and standards on this channel.
Hey y'all, it's me, Firebite27. You may remember me from the time SMR and I reviewed a monkey. Okay, but on a more serious and probably more relevant note, Studio Series 86 Magnus has taught me an important lesson. Never judge a book by its cover. Or perhaps more pedantically, never judge a Transformer by its promo images. The first promo images I saw of this figure were positively goofy, seemingly doing everything in their power to emphasize the width of Ultra Magnus's torso, almost as though the figure tried to make itself more buff by stretching itself horizontally in Photoshop. However, I had enough of an open mind to make myself a promise. If the figure ever went on sale on Amazon, I'd buy a copy. And it did go on sale on Amazon, and I bought it, and oh my goodness, this is an amazing toy. For one thing, a spring-loaded matrix chamber, How many figures have one of those? That's so cool. Like, that should have been a standard feature on Earthrise Optimus Prime, and every Optimus Prime to have a matrix chamber. It has a lot of articulation, light piping, and exploding limbs, which I forgot to film, but honestly, I think what I love most of all about this figure is that it finally feels as though Commander Class is back.
As for me, Commander Class Ultra Magnus is everything I've ever wanted in a Commander Class Ultra Magnus. Does he have the core white prime? No. Is that a deal breaker? Absolutely not. We've seen what that looks like, and thank goodness they didn't go that route. This is, without a doubt, the perfect Ultra Magnus. Maybe there's some slight things. For instance, I wasn't really a fan of how this is 3 pieces instead of 2 like the Masterpiece was. But that's okay, because they added this little rocker tap thing that locks it all together that the Masterpiece didn't have. They added these things, which the Masterpiece didn't have. It had click, the end. That's all you could do with the Masterpiece. It's got actual tires instead of black nubs. It's got an actual cohesive back with, like, the butt flap is actually part of the waist joint instead of just looking like kibble. There is so much about this that improves on the Masterpiece, and it's at a scale that works with all of this.
Look, there are different types of Ultra Magni on the market. Some of them have the inner bots, and some of them don't. And that's okay, not everyone likes the same style. Some think missing the inner bot is a crime against humanity. Others think the very concept is stupid and should be ignored entirely. Me personally, I kinda like the inner bot, which is probably why the Siege version is my favorite Magnus so far. This does not diminish what SS-86 did though. What it lacks in armor compatibility, it more than makes up for with play features. Sure, it borrows a lot from the MP, but unlike a lot of other SS-86 figures that tread similar ground, it actually improves on what came before. No more weird butt flap or lacking waist swivel. The backpack is arguably cleaner too. The engineering is incredibly satisfying. You'd be forgiven for thinking it's one of Hasui's projects. But nope, Tomoki Tatsumi, who doesn't seem to have worked on an Ultra Magnus in his career before, will say adapting the existing transformation here has worked a lot better than his previous projects, with MPM Blackout. No disrespect to that mold, but let's be real, it had its issues. I think what really endears the figure to me is the alt mode. There's something just satisfying holding this in your hand, even without the car carrying functionality, which, to be honest, it's never been that much of a priority for me. Probably gonna get burned at the stake for that one. Ultimately, yeah, I still prefer the Siege version with its addicting combination function and Studio Aux throwbacks, but this is still a pretty good release. It's not one I've actively sought out with pre-orders and hunting, but I'm glad I came across it, and I'm glad it's part of my collection. While yes, I am disappointed Studio Series refuses to do anything Bayverse in its Commander class, because let's be real, Long Haul and Hook are probably going to be the next Commander in 2025, but I'm not disappointed in this figure's existence. It's fully justified its presence in the physical plane, and although not the greatest Commander of all time, yeah, they did pretty good.
So yeah, Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus is finally here. I've waited months, rewritten this script like 8 times in a goddamn row. Did you know my intro was 6 pages at one point? And now I'm finally here. The definitive look at what may turn out to be the figure that overtakes Combiner Wars Magnus as the most ambitious and, more importantly, my favorite figure of all time. Welcome back to the channel, bitches! Today we're going to be taking a very long, very thorough look at Studio Series 86 Commander Class Ultra Magnus. I ordered this figure off CMD Store in late 2023 as the only commander standing in the Studio Series 86 lineup. Upon glancing at this hardcore vehicle of industry, it's almost impossible to say that you'll ever be disappointed. This idiot-sized Freedom Fist on Wheels features an absolutely gorgeous paint job in its Goliath of a truck mode, with some of the most crisp and sharp cosmetics I've ever seen on a mainline chug figure. The stark white truck cab does come with its fair share of issues that need to be addressed though, because people will not shut the fuck up about it. The hinges are made of a different type of plastic than a good portion of the rest of the truck cab, which does give it the appearance of yellowing. We have a notorious history of this type of shit happening, and I am very happy to say I have yet to experience any real issues with this after transforming a bunch of times in a heavily concentrated light source, so I think this is just imperfect color matching. Don't put it in the sun for too long though, dumbass. The blue on Ultra Magnus is something that Hasbro never seems to get right, but this time they fucking nailed it, with this rich, dark, almost navy blue contrasting off the gorgeous fire engine red highlights awash throughout this absolute beast of a truck mode. The silver painted wheels are done astonishingly well, and are borderline chromed out at the seams. One can only wish they were rubberized tires like Beachcomber. In terms of playability, this is where the figure really starts to shine over previous releases. This absolute Goliath of a truck mode can carry 4 deluxe cars on it. And by deluxes, I don't mean just Earthrise Cliff Jumper, I mean actual deluxes. His truck mode still features a trailer pivot, although it isn't quite as good as Combiner Wars, but it is more realistic for a truck of this magnitude and size, so I'll at least give that the benefit of the doubt. The one stupid issue with the truck mode is the fact that the truck cab detaches from the trailer and is sorely lacking a locking point, making this thing a pain in the ass to transform without having the entire chest fall off. Call it unpopular, but I hate the idea of having this truck even being removable. We ditched the white Optimus Prime gimmick for a reason. No one is going to display just the truck cab, so I seriously didn't see a point in doing this. Upon seeing the truck cab, you wouldn't be wrong to assume that Hasbro was a pee-pee poo-poo stupid brain and decided to make the entire thing out of clear plastic, but thank fucking God, these clear plastic windows are actually inserts. Want to hear a shitty fact that'll ruin a certain other commander? No, too fucking bad. Armada Optimus Prime's earpieces are clear plastic painted gold. Those fuckers are ticking time bombs. In conclusion, Ultra Magnus has a vehicle mode that I can only describe as a work of art, pushing the definition of perfection to its absolute limits with an absolute fuck huge freedom fist on wheels that looks like it wants to bitch slap you with America. It's a Goliath of engineering that does everything the original could, and this is the first time in the last 40 years that this has been the case. It's damn near brought me to tears before in the past, as I remember my mother selling off my G1 Ultra Magnus because she didn't like me playing with it so much, and made it because it made too many clicking sounds. Welp, now I can make all the damn clicking sounds I want. The vehicle mode is a definition of childhood fulfillment from a simpler time in life, and it brings out that spirit beautifully to me. But how does this puppy transform? This 46-step Goliath of engineering takes all of the best elements of every high-quality Ultra Magnus that's ever been made and takes it a step further with one of the best implemented truck cab designs I've ever seen. I audibly gasped when I realized that his truck cab folds inside out to reveal the red and blue color palette of the chest, while having none of the truck cab visible on the back. The head can be a bitch to get through the flap that covers it in vehicle mode, but the shoulders have horizontal tabs that keep everything locked together beautifully. The shoulder assembly does have one too many panels in my eyes, making it feel slightly over-engineered and thin, but the figure you get out of this transformation is the absolute pinnacle of pushing Chug's limits to get an incredibly satisfying end result. 86 Ultra Magnus is by far the most visually stunning 86 figure out of my entire collection. I'm not just saying that because he's my favorite character, I'm saying that because his shelf presence is positively amazing. I didn't think it was possible to have a better head sculpt than Combiner Wars Magnus, but goddamn, they actually did it! He does have light piping, which means it automatically fails the perspective end check. But while it isn't the most light-absorbing thing on the face of the planet, the eyes still shine even when they don't glow. But this is where one verified stupid moment from Hasbro manages to come out of the woodwork. Hasbro pulled a dipshit by apparently making these earpieces fucking detachable. Whose dumbass power hour having ass bullshit honky donk fuckity fucking idea was it to make these things a separate piece? When I opened the box, I hadn't watched a review on this figure because I wanted to keep my opinions on it my own. So imagine my fucking delight when a figure that was imported from Canada and took a month to get here came missing its fucking ears. There are moments where one of the earpieces gets snagged on something else during his transformation, and they fall off, and I nearly piss, shit, and fart myself, thinking that I broke it or have non-flashbacks from my experiences with Flame Toys Megatron. So he's a little wide and has a stupid component of his head sculpt. That certainly makes him a pee-pee poo-poo stinky because he have no tits. Am I right, fellas? In In all seriousness, there is one thing that genuinely annoys me about this figure that was mentioned at the beginning of the review. Everyone and their grandmas pointed out that Ultra Magnus is a little bit too wide, and I have a theory as to why that's the case. And it's fucking stupid. My theory on the whole reason I think he's slightly too wide is the fact that G1ers, obsessed with perfect scale accuracy, have this bullshit notion that Ultra Magnus should be about the same height as Rodimus Prime. So when they designed this figure, they decided to shorten him, compromising his proportions while doing nothing to thin out the truck cab, all to make a bunch of whiny, scale-obsessed piss babies happy. I might be in the minority here, but I think Rodimus Prime being about the same size as Ultra Magnus is a stupid idea, even if it is accurate. Magnus is a car carrier that transports up to 4 cars on his trailer alone, combined with a truck in one giant robot mode. Rodimus is a futuristic sports car with a trailer that is not a part of his robot mode. I can understand why people might think that it is coming from that one instance in the history of the franchise where the toy was designed before the cartoon was designed, but sticking with making another figure shorter and a little bit too wide as a result is a really stupid way of handling this. Cartoons can exaggerate proportions, size, and power to accentuate individual scenes and highlight the strength or weakness of a character, but when you take a second to think about the logic behind this, why would a sports car that can fit on this guy's trailer with another goddamn car be the same height in robot mode as the combined sum of his entire truck and trailer?
But stop motion reviewer, scale is important to Transformers media everywhere.
I don't personally think Ultra Magnus's proportions are bad. In fact, they're pretty damn fantastic, but this one tiny, insignificant thing that was completely unnecessary damaged the publicity of this thing because they didn't want to stand by it being a little bit bigger. And it's really going to wind up discouraging designers from trying anything like this again out of fear of bullshit backlash over something superficial and stupid. These fans frequently overlook everything that makes the figure great if it goes even slightly outside of that imaginary cartoon line that they drew. The fact of the matter is, it's unrealistic to expect perfection, and trying to reach that expectation can lead to simple fixes to great figures getting overlooked. But you know what we shouldn't overlook on this thing? The articulation on Studio Series 86 Magnus pushes the figure with a building-like stature into being a
Fat ballerina.
The head movement is insanely versatile and expressive, with an insane amount of movement in every direction. But be careful with that tilt. This shit is on a clear plastic socket. The outward shoulder movement's pretty weak out of the box, but a little floor polish fixed the problem quite a bit. The rotation's on some crunchy fuck hours, with some obnoxiously loud ratchets and a shitload of detents. His hands? Holy shit, these things have better range than the actual masterpiece. $240. Fuck you. Individual trigger fingers, double jointed knuckles, and wrist rotation on a choke figure is fucking wild. He also has a waist rotation and beyond 90 knees. How?
Damn,
look at these fucking
he's
legs
dead.
and tell me how they somehow managed to give him double jointed knees that go beyond 90 degrees of movement. Bendy Prime, more like fucking Yoga Magnus. The ankle tilt is on the kind of weaker side, but with how wide his base of support is, I don't really see him having that many issues with balance overall. The quality of the joints on this thing are made out of sheer determination and willpower. I swear to Christ. With how much weight the plastic has, it should not be this well balanced. Larger figures like this take a lot of structural support and durability to hold up, but when a figure can strike a pose like this, when he's built like this shit will just blow anything out of the water. People frequently overlook the engineering on joints of a figure and how much it takes to do something as simple as a ratchet joint that can hold up the weight of the figure. But the joints aren't the only reason for this, oh Christ, price tag. He's got a spring-loaded matrix chamber, a flying fuck with a blast effects to give, his missile launchers, 2 guns, oh, and for some dumbass reason he explodes apart because fuck you, I guess. Honestly, what dipshit made the engineers do this? Why are we selling figures with fucking body horror? I shit you not. I made a post on bot posting betting $100 that they were going to come out with a Dead Ratchet and Brawn 2-pack exclusive to Target and that it would go on clearance at Ross for $12.99 within the year. And I was already fucking right about the first part apparently. Fortunately, the limbs are connected by Combiner Wars ports, which means they aren't gonna break down over time or anything, but like, not everything that happened in the movie needs to be a thing on the toy? You know what this fan base does when they get the fucking chance? They give us unholy cup deformities, and now my Twitter timeline's just gonna have fucking 10,000 pictures of him in every unholy pose you can think of. So I guess he has a sensible number of play features and accessories in proportion to the overall size of the figure, but a part of me still feels like they were relying a little bit too much on the complexity of his engineering over the play value of the figure. Every other commander we've gotten has been at least 3 things in one, and I get he doesn't have a base mode or anything in the cartoon, which I would strongly prefer, but it would have been cool to have him include like 1 or 2 extras, wouldn't it? I understand why they didn't, man. The engineering, painting, and figure quality overall is just incredible, but $100 still feels a little bit too expensive for the figure's overall size and stature. But I guess that really brings us to one simple question. Is he better than Combiner Wars? I hate to admit it, but fucking yep. Listen, a part of being a certified toy reviewer is being able to adapt with the times and admit when engineering changes have improved upon figures that you loved in the past. And this fanbase isn't exactly known for being sensible to taking change well, but sometimes modernizations of the character can only go so far before they reach their peak physical form, and Combiner Wars flew really goddamn close to the sun in that regard. But Studio Series 86 feels like someone who has a genuine love for the character and an appreciation for all the frustrations I've had over the years was finally allowed to just go to friggin' town, not worry about John Warden having his fist up their ass, and just be able to design something truly special that evokes that nostalgic feeling of the 86 movie without feeling soulless and corporate. Combiner Wars Magnus has started to show his age from just how many restrictions and shortcuts were made that they didn't have to make. And in spite of the fact that he was a strong figure that came out of a dog shit time to collect Transformers and still holds up quality wise today in a lot of regards, there's quite a few components of that figure that were just under-designed because of John Warden's corporate overreach. But this figure did something to me as a reviewer that hasn't happened on this deep of a level since Combiner Wars came out in 2014. It gave me my definition of a satisfactory, borderline perfect Ultra Magnus, and I can happily die on the hill as defending this figure as the best figure in my entire collection, if not at least the best out of Studio Series 86. And this whole line has been great, man. They made some of the greatest advancements in engineering we've seen ever since this line came out. And sure, every now and then they hit a foul ball that's a little bit weird here and there, but they still have a 90% home run rate and knocking the socks off G1 fans while also giving new collectors who can appreciate G1 but still want something modern and good something to look forward to buying. This figure is peak performance, and honestly, I don't think it's gonna get much better than this. So get off your ass and deal with that now to get yourself a slice of